Hey, what's up, folks? James from Junkyard Fox. Thank you so much for joining me. And today I wanted to have a very simple tabletop discussion on one of my favorite knife companies of all time, Green River Knives. Now, I've been singing the praises of Green River Knives going on about 5 years already, and it's a very rich brand in terms of American history, in terms of its legacy. They've been made in America. To this day, they're still made, and they started sometime around 1831 to 1834. Records get a little fuzzy. Regardless, they've been made for centuries here, used by trappers and natives and lawmen and frontiersmen, outlaws, all kinds of stuff. So once again, a great company, and sadly I don't see a lot of discussion, if any discussion at all, from the knife community here on YouTube. None of the knife reviewers talk about it, none of the knife connoisseur channels talk about it, and it's so odd because they're constantly singing the praises of Old Hickory, which is a very similar brand, but a brand that came around a lot later. So I find that a little confusing. So we'll discuss that in a bit. So thank you for joining me. This one's for you knife nerds. Let's get started. So here we have 5 Green Rivers. Some are mine, some are Cuervo Negros. So let's discuss these. Now, once again, these started being made sometime in the early 1830s, around the time of the westward expansion. So a lot of frontiersmen and settlers and stuff like that were using these blades. Many thousands were shipped out off to the west, of course, used to butcher game, self-defense if needed, stuff like that, daily duties around the ranch or whatever the case may be. And to this day, they are still made. So very traditional type of blades. High carbon steel blade. It is 1095 high carbon steel with wooden handles for slabs. Very simplistic blades by modern day standards. This is Cuervo's Hunter model, and this is basically, when you think of a Green River knife in modern day sense, this is what comes to mind. You look at catalogs from 80 years ago, and the design has not changed very much. Once again, very simple, very old world, very thin, a flat grind, once again, great for slicing veggies, processing game, gutting trout, so on and so forth. Very simplistic. There's a beauty to simplicity, and I really love these blades. Now, this one is Cuervo's, as I mentioned earlier, and he's got one hell of a patina on this thing. I mean, it looks like it belongs in a museum. I don't know what he's doing with his blades, but yeah, mine's pretty worn as well. I'll show mine in a little bit. But yeah, once again, very similar to like an Old Hickory, not a lot of fanciness when it comes to these blades, just very simple wood, very simple steel, but it just works beautifully. So let's get all of these out of their sheaths so we can see them in action. So there we go. We got 4 different models. These two are the same. Once again, this one's Cuervo's Green River Hunter, the 4215 model, also known as the fish knife. It has several knives. Once again, it's the same damn thing. Now, once again, very simplistic. This is the base model. This one is mine. Very, very much the same. I mean, I've used this many times. I have many videos with this knife being used. It is somewhat retired at this point, and I'll discuss that later. Reason why: there's nothing wrong with the knife, but the knife helped me design something that I liked a little bit more. This was a big part of the inspiration for my own knife design right here. Now, this one, if you notice, has snazzier, more comfortable looking handles. That's because I bought this from crazycrowtradingcompany.com, and they have a way where they have like a little bit of an upgrade when it comes to these handles. Now, that's the one drawback when you get these, just like a lot of these knives, they tend to be a little blocky. You may want to sand them down to make them more comfortable. This one feels amazing, but I know for a fact that Cuervo took some sandpaper and kind of rounded out the edges on this so it wouldn't be so blocky when he's putting some pressure on it. I never had to worry about that with mine because mine is nice and oval. Not sure what kind of wood this is. I believe it may be walnut with some lacquer on it. And they also offer bone as well with the sheath. The sheath's a little crappy, so you can buy a little bit of an upgrade. But once again, this is an outstanding knife when it comes to food prep and all that stuff, basic camp chores. Of course, it's not going to be your scanny grind where, that's where it's going to excel at making pot hooks and primitive deadfall traps and stuff like that. It'll still do good depending on the wood, but yeah, just a nice little simple knife. The spine does not come rounded, so you just take a little file, and within a couple seconds you got that, so you can strike a ferro rod. Once again, it's 1095 high carbon steel. I have a full review on this knife if you want to check it out. Up here in the corner, we butchered a rabbit. We cooked up some potatoes with it as well. Made a one-stick fire. So check this out. And these are very simplistic. This runs you about 26 bucks at most, I want to say. And this one was a little bit of an upgrade. It came with the little crappy sheath and the upgraded handle. This one was about 75 bucks if I remember correctly. I got it for myself for Christmas, maybe 2018, around there. Now, here are some other ones. Now, one of the beauties about these Green River knives is, once again, because they're so budget friendly, it's not going to break your heart if you mess them up, you lose them, you damage them. Or there's also kits, knife making kits. So if you're first getting into modifying your blades, you know, you want to kind of make your own handles, for example, stuff like that, there are kits available that you can order so you can make your own handles, for example. Or maybe you don't want wooden handles at all, you prefer to shape some micarta, stuff like that. You know, they have that available. Comes with the little pins and everything, and these are custom. These three are custom. So this is the Green River Knives, a bear tooth knife right here. As you can see, it's very much like a little French trade knife design. You know, something very reminiscent, once again, of the Mountain Man era, something they'd have like around their neck or in their satchel. And this one has a nice little hollow grind right here. Ridiculously thin. So this one, once again, is going to be just a great little paring knife. Just, you know, processing, you know, a trout and catfish, that kind of stuff. Chopping up veggies. Very lightweight. Now, this one is made out of a type of stainless steel. Probably like some type of 420. Check that out. And this one was one of those knife kits that I was mentioning earlier. So this is snakeskin micarta with blood red liners, and look at that, just a little bit of that really just makes this knife just really stand out. It's such a beautiful little blade. I've used this to process some bullfrogs to cook up before, so you don't see it a lot on this channel, but I've used it here and there. I used it to process a rattlesnake as well to cook up. So it's a great little skinner, great little knife to have in your haversack. And like I said, this one is custom. Look at these beautiful little scales right here. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus. And apologies, it's very windy out here today, so I'm hoping that the audio isn't messed up. And big shout out to viewer James Hyde, who has been a longtime viewer, a longtime patron, and he actually sent these to us. So he likes to, you know, on his spare time, you know, get some blades and customize them and stuff like that. And, you know, he sends them to us, so we're very thankful for that, you know. And this is one of them. I would say this is one of the most beautiful knives in my collection. Now this one is also sent by him. This is the Green River Dadley right here. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus. And yeah, a spear point type of blade. Once again, 1095 high carbon steel. This one has, once again, customized handles and liners. Check that out. I don't recall what this was made out of. He sent this to me. I believe it was olive wood. Might be mistaken. I'll annotate it below in case I'm mistaken, with green liners. And he did add a type of patina, like a mustard patina. It's not showing anywhere now because I've been using this a ton. Oh, there you go. I've been using this a ton in my kitchen. So of course, slicing potatoes, tomatoes, you know, types of meat and stuff like that, it starts kind of making that patina. So it starts kind of like becoming very fuzzy, very foggy. But I like that. I like that in a carbon steel type of blade. And this one, once again, it's called the Green River Dadley. It's very similar to a Kephart, so you can consider this something of a budget Kephart. Now, one thing to note about Kephart knives that I don't think a lot of people realize is that the Kephart knife was not invented by Kephart from the ground up. This knife design has been around for a long time. In fact, the Dadley predates the Kephart knife for a good amount of time. In fact, I've seen some spear point blades like this that were used like in the pocket knives of Roman soldiers. So once again, it's not a new design. He just kind of tweaked this to something more to his liking. So once again, the Dadley predates the Kephart. Very similar in every way. Once again, less than a 1 1/8 inch thick. I would say this is probably 3/32 inch thick. Now it does have these scallops up here. Not sure what they were used for, so I did ask around. I asked Mike Stewart from Bark River Knives, and he says it was for scraping hides. I had several people saying that it was for scraping hides. I had no clue about that. I just kind of figured this would be great for like scraping the scales off fish, like bluegill, for example, perhaps carp. And I think that would work beautifully for that as well. Some people say it's for jimping, for your thumb. I would disagree because this doesn't feel very comfortable. Now here is another Green River. This is a 4-inch butcher knife. I'm not sure what this one's called. I want to say it's just called a 4-inch butcher knife. Once again, you can kind of tell right there that it says Russell Green River Knives. This one's Cuervos. This was sent by James Hyde for Cuervo. So you can see these beautiful scales right here, these wooden scales, and these lime green liners. G10. Look at the shape of that. Very comfortable in the hand, and once again, it's got that butcher knife when you think of like old time, Mountain Man era, the Revenant movie type of era knives. This is something that you'd see a lot back then. Cuervo, you gotta take care of your knives, buddy, because this is, I don't know what's on here. I'm sure Cuervo cooks a lot, and I don't think he wipes the blades afterwards, because it did not look like this one when he first got them. So, yeah, you want to, once again, it's a carbon steel. It's, regardless, going to pick up a patina with time, with use. But this, I would say, it just wasn't wiped correctly from time after time. So, Cuervo, be sure to take care of your blades. But, beautiful design. Once again, this is going to lend itself more to butchering games. So if you're, for deer season, elk season, stuff like that, you have your belt knife on you. That's going to be, kind of an all-arounder in case you need to do bushcraft or notching or whatever, making fire. But this one may be a little bit more purposeful for, once again, caping hides and stuff like that. So got a nice big belly. Of course, James Hyde modified it so it has a nice 90-degree spine for starting a fire. Very comfortable, very lightweight as well. These knives are very light. So check this one out. Once again, this was like a kit that James Hyde bought, and he modified it, made his own scales with it. But if you wanted to buy the basic model with a very similar scale like this, it wouldn't run you much, probably like $22, something like that. And so longtime viewers remember this blade. I used it for many years. I would say about 4 years, and I used it for all kinds of videos. A lot of game processing videos, of course, processing rabbits and stuff like that. Also a lot of camp cooking. I very much enjoy cooking, so a lot of slicing potatoes and tomatoes and making stews around the campfire, stuff like that. This lends itself very well because, of course, that flat grind, the 3/32 inch thin blade right there. But of course, it was no slouch either. It was able to baton. It holds an edge very well. I mean, it's 1095, so don't expect some modern day type of steel. But very simple, very easy to hone up and bring back to life. Very comfortable and lightweight. So it worked very well for what I liked it. And of course, my aesthetic is very much 1800s butcher knives and scalpers and skinners and stuff like that. So this, of course, appeals to me in terms of, my style, my aesthetic. And then this one, of course, this one's not mine, but just, once again, going for those butcher knives, those skinners, these very much were inspirations for my eventual own knife design. So basically, I had this, and I was like, how can I make this a little bit more versatile for my modern day, especially for my uses? How can I make this a little bit more resourceful, so it's not only just a great camp cooking knife and skinner, but if I needed to do some Scandi work, some carving, some notches, stuff like that. So of course, here is my knife design, the Snake Eater. You can see the similarity right there, especially the blade is basically a mix of these two. Taking the Hunter, and then something like a butcher knife, kind of making that belly just a little bit bigger. You got that arch on the spine that old world knives had. And of course, once again, you get something like this. So I took the Green River and I just upped it up, from 1095 high carbon, which is a good steel, but I wanted AEBL, something that I don't have to worry about rust and stuff like that. When it comes to blood, or, I sliced some tomatoes and I forgot to clean it, stuff like that. This is just a little bit more modern day. I gave it a Scandi that turns into a flat. So great for skinning and processing and, chopping veggies up here. But down here, of course, if I needed to make some notches, make a figure 4 deadfall, stuff like that, gave it a little bit of a guard, finger guard right there. And then also a pommel. Now this came from the Garberg, so I've always liked the pommel, a crushing pommel on my blades. So of course that's something that the Green River did not have. But I just kind of took this design and just brought it to the modern day. So Now it's kind of ironic, it's a cruel twist of fate. Once, of course, I got that's my snake eater. It basically caused an extinction event with all my other knife collection, and so I ended up selling half my knives, and the other ones are retired. Basically, this one's retired. It sees some action in the kitchen here and there, but I mean, you haven't seen this on my belt out camping in years. Once again, ever since the snake eater. So, once again. Cruel irony that the snake eater, I liked it so much that basically all my other knives, you don't really see them in action anymore, at least when I'm out filming. So yeah, great blades. And then just since we're already here, I'll just show you my other snake eater. So I have two of them, and this one's the black one. But yeah, you can definitely see the resemblance there from Green River's. So anyway, Green River knives, outstanding blades. I wish they got more attention because, once again, still made in America, still going strong from early 1830s to modern day 2023. Once again, still made out of the same material, very similar designs to this day, very faithful to the original renditions. 1095 high carbon steel with wooden handle. Now, you can say that this is a very much a primitive type of knife compared to our modern day Magna Cut steels and, so on and so forth. But at the same time, there's a charm to that, particularly if you're a history nerd like me. This is really cool, especially when you start to develop your own patina from your own adventures and you modified it your own way. It just becomes more personal to you, and I think that's really awesome. Very outstanding, budget-friendly blades. So this will run you about $24. All of these really will when you get the base model, such as this one. So I think it's great for those beginners that, you're interested in getting into camping and bushcraft and fishing, but you're not sure if maybe you're not going to be into it, or maybe you don't have a lot of experience with knives. You don't want to drop $250 on an LT Wright knife that you don't know how to sharpen and say you mess it up, or you lose it, you damage it. Whatever the case may be, get something simplistic. I hope you stick to something simple like a Mora or an Old Hickory or a Green River and learn how to hone your knives there, and maybe start taking a couple of little baby steps into modifying your stuff, like filing the spine to make it, usable with a ferro rod, sanding the handle down to make it more comfortable for you, stuff like that. Little baby steps that really get you more comfortable in using knives and learning to appreciate them. Once again, if you lose this knife or you damage it in whatever way, it'll cost you less than $24. That's half a tank of gas. That's not even a quarter of gas in my truck. So, it's very simplistic as opposed to a $300 Bark River and now it's damaged or you lost it, it got stolen, whatever the case may be. I think this is a great way to get into knives, especially, if you're into the more old world, butcher style type of blades such as I'm into. This is a great one, and they have different models, not just a Hunter, but if you're looking for something a little bit more along the lines of a Kephart style knife, of course they got this Green River Dadley as well. Great blade. And keep in mind, a lot of these, if you want the base model, you got it, and in case you want to buy a kit, maybe you want to start taking steps towards making your own blades, shaping your own stuff, of course these are blade blanks that you can add whatever handle material you'd like. So for example, once again, this one is snakeskin micarta with blood red liners, and this is a $14 knife on its own, but with these scales, I mean, my God, this is one of the most beautiful knives in my collection, and it works beautifully. It's a great little blade, fantastic little blade to have in my haversack. Once again, I've used it to butcher some game. I've used it in the kitchen before, and this one's stainless steel, so if you want something that's a little bit easier to manage from the elements, once again, an absolute awesome knife, an absolute awesome knife company that I wish got a lot more attention, and that sadly doesn't. You don't see any knife review, knife connoisseur type channels on YouTube discussing Green River knives. In fact, most have never even heard of a Green River knife. You see a lot of channels like Gideon's Tactical and Dutch Bushcraft Knives, Cedric and Ada. They'll discuss an Old Hickory knife, but they never discuss a Green River. And to be completely honest, because I own both, I will take a Green River over an Old Hickory any day of the week. I consider it the superior blade, in my opinion. Once again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I really wish they got a lot more attention, and sadly they don't. Now, I've thought about this, and I've wondered, why don't they get a lot of attention? And truthfully, there's no one to blame but Green River Knives themselves. At least their parent company. They're owned by Dexter Cutlery, And Dexter Cutlery has done zero effort into modernizing themselves into the way the world works now. You know, we have social media, we have the internet, Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth, and they have zero social media presence on YouTube, on any of these, on Twitter, and that's going to work to their detriment. Now, you see a lot of these knives, they're known very well by old-timers that do a lot of mountain man rendezvous and stuff like that, reenacting. But, you know, they're getting older. And then you look at a 25-year-old outdoorsman, a hiker, a camper, and you ask them what knives they know, and they're going to be carrying Moras. You know, they're going to have knives like that, but they have no clue what a Green River is, and that is a crime, in my opinion. Once again, let's compare Dexter Green River to Ontario Old Hickory. You see Ontario knives every year at Blade Show, and they're releasing new models, and they're listening to what their customers are doing, how they're modding their knives, and then they'll try to, you know, work with that. And you know, they're putting in the effort, and sadly, even then, they still went bankrupt just a couple of months ago. Luckily, it seems like they're going to be all right, but I mean, they were already closing their doors. So if they're closing their doors and they've been, you know, active in the community, what's to say that these guys are not going to go out pretty soon if we don't get new eyeballs and a new audience to try these out? And it worries me because, once again, I love these knives so much, and I think they deserve a lot more recognition. I wish Dexter would actually take a larger role and responsibility in their advertising and their online presence. Anyway, there's a little bit of a rant there in this video, but once again, outstanding blades, just absolutely beautiful blades. Yeah, I mean, there's so much variety that you could do with these in terms of customization, and, you know, very simple blades, very, you know, they're not expensive, 1095 high carbon, which you should take care of. Wherever I'll take care of this. And yeah, just great little blades. So that's about it for me, folks. I'll have the link down below to my Amazon store if you're interested in trying one of these out. I'll also have the link down below to Crazy Crow Trading Company. I'm not associated with them whatsoever. They have no idea I exist. But if you're interested in purchasing one of these that's a little snazzier, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, about 75 bucks. But honestly, I mean, I got my money's worth with this because, I mean, once again, it became one of my favorite knives. I've used it in hundreds of videos, and it eventually became the basis of my own knife design. So I owe a lot to this blade. And that's about it for me, folks. Let's get a conversation going down below. Do you use Green Rivers? How would you rate them? Do you consider them better than Old Hickory? I personally think they're superior to Old Hickory. Once again, personal opinion. Let's try to get more eyeballs on Green River knives. So that's about it for me, folks. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week with another video. And go outside and get your boots dirty.